All this makeup on the table you see is really not mine, although you might think that I need it, but I don't. It actually belongs to makeup artist Ruth Mitchell. Ruth is going to turn two teenagers today into a tiger and a scary vampire. She's also going to give us some tips on Halloween on how to make up yourself. I'm Julie Robbins. Welcome to Expressions. We are at the beautiful home of makeup artist Ruth Mitchell. Ruth, thank you for being on the program today.
Hi.
I say makeup artist, but you do a lot more, which we're going to see here in just a few minutes. But it's not an ordinary job, makeup artist. How did you get involved in this?
I got involved in high school, as a matter of fact. I had a wonderful drama coach when I was in high school in Northern California who made us do everything. We had to build sets, we had to learn how to do makeup, we had to do the acting, we had to, of course, tear it all down later, but when we did get to the makeup segment, having an artistic bent in the first place, I just really took to it and have kept doing the theater ever since. And then about 8 years ago, got into the commercial aspects of doing makeup.
So commercial, you do videos, you do theater, you do it all, don't you?
Yeah, sure do.
Wow. And here in Tulsa, you work for the Gilbert and Sullivan Society,
right?
And Tulsa Opera.
We have Light Opera Oklahoma, which is Gilbert and Sullivan in the summertime, and then the opera in the winter season, and Tulsa Indian Actors Workshop, and whatever else comes along as far as theater is concerned.
And as we said, you do commercials and videos, but your true love is theater, isn't it?
Theater, yes.
Okay, well, you have some pictures over here that I'd like to take a look at. Speaking of theater.
This was a priest from Madame Butterfly, which was
an evil priest.
An evil priest. Actually, he was a very evil priest. This is a fop from one of the Light Opera Oklahoma or Gilbert and Sullivan shows.
And this is one, obviously you've done the wig and everything.
Well, actually, we have another man who does wigs for them. Now, in the Tulsa Opera, I do the wigs as well, but for this one, we had another gentleman who took care of the wigs, did a wonderful job. And this was the Mikado and Caddyshaw from the Mikado.
And I understand this character is the same person, right?
This is the same fella. Yeah, it certainly is.
What a difference makeup can make, huh?
He was fun, though. He just has a face that lends itself to this sort of thing.
Can you make me a totally different person?
I certainly can. And this was a major opera star who actually has a wonderful head full of auburn hair, and she needed to look like an old prioress who was dying of consumption. That is a woman.
You've done the makeup so well, you can't really tell.
And these are two of the three women from Magic Flute, more of a fantasy makeup. And then this was from Hansel and Gretel. This is a man, my male witch. I also built those hands for him too, from a pair of opera gloves.
So you could really be as creative as you want when you do this,
Well, that's
right?
what I love about theater, because most of it's over the top, but a lot of it is character oriented, and one of the ways to assist the actors with their character is to develop a face for them,
right?
That they can use. Like in Coco's case, for instance, he was always very worried. He was a hand wringer, so we played with his eyebrows to help give him that worried expression,
worried look,
so that he wouldn't have to worry about worrying so much. So it's fun to work with the actors and with the costuming in order to tie all the colors together, and so theater's a lot of fun. When you go to film or video or print, you go to the opposite end of the spectrum. You go very, very subtle, very small. And
you want more natural type look?
Yes, right.
Well, I love this. And pictures are wonderful, but we're going to get to see you in action, right?
It's going to be fun.
Okay, our first model is Annie. Annie, thank you for being on the program today.
No problem.
And what is Annie going to be?
Annie is going to be a tigress.
A tigress, ew.
Yeah.
And she has beautiful blonde hair to go along with it.
We'll probably enhance that later on. Just
Great.
To frame
now
her
tell
face.
me, what is your first step in doing this?
First step would be to apply light areas. One of the principles of makeup is anything that's light pops forward, anything that's dark recedes. And so this is how we make it appear to have a sculpted look. You can create jawbones where there are none. You can sink the eyes in. So
does it matter the color of her skin, what makeup you use?
Well, Normally it would. She's very pale, so therefore I'm not going to base her, which will save time. And this is a water-based makeup, so you just pretty much paint it on.
Okay.
As though you were painting a picture. That's one of the things I like about theater makeup, is because I like painting pictures, and I kind of think of this as sort of a three-dimensional canvas.
Right. And you say theater makeup. Now, is that just a certain kind of makeup you use just to paint faces? Can anyone get that makeup?
Actually, you can get theater effects with anything that you buy over the counter, except that when you want to use a water-based makeup, you'll usually have to go to, usually the magic shops in town will carry a lot of water-based products. And of course, one of the things that you want to see that you do with makeup is that you do blend it. The nice thing about theater makeup, if you actually are doing it for the stage, is that you've got some distance between yourself and the audience, and so you don't have to be quite as perfect, because you're going to get the overall effect.
Right, but it has to be a lot, right?
It depends on the house and how far the audience sits away. You know, the house with being the audience depends on how far away from the stage they are. In a little black box theater, which is very small, and the audience is, you know, you're practically in their lap, your makeup's going to be a lot more subtle, even if it's character makeup.
So I guess this is almost kind of like if someone were a good cook, somebody made excellent cookies. Well, they've done it quite a few times. They don't even need the recipe anymore.
Right, exactly.
So you know the recipe as being a makeup artist is certain types
Well, and of course you do have, like I say, the certain guidelines, you know, the lights and the darks, the contours and the highlights. And this is just a black.
And if someone were doing it for Halloween, I guess, you know, whatever you ended up with, if it looked scary, you're fine with it, right?
Yeah, and the other thing that people seem to think is that your costuming has to be very archaic and old-fashioned and look like the creep shows. I've done Draculas who were in black leather jackets and white T-shirts and done their hair to where they're in pompadours, but they're Draculas. You know, it doesn't really matter what you're wearing. The face is everything. The face and the attitude. And I'm trying to work quickly here, so this isn't quite as...
You're doing a great job. And you're having to use the dark because she has such light eyebrows. Well, I guess you probably would anyway, wouldn't you?
Well, by the time we get all the attendant colors in place, she'll have to have the dark for it to show up.
Now tell me, when you are doing something like you did stuff for the Magic Flute for Tulsa Opera, how many characters did you do for that?
Magic Flute was rather large. I think we both had like 7 or 8 people apiece to do for that.
My goodness. And so after you're done, then you're like, don't touch anything, don't go anywhere, stay still?
No, you know, that's why makeup comes in such large quantities. You can always reapply.
Oh my goodness.
And we do.
Oh, so how long did it take you per person with that?
For Magic Flute, I didn't have very long. I think 20 minutes a person was the max that I could, because there were so many, and you can only start, you know, so far ahead of the show. People will refuse to show up. They'll go, no way, I'm not coming to the theater 4 hours in advance. So, you know, 2 hours before the top of the show is about the most time you have, and so you've got to decide how long that's going to give you with each person. Okay, open up, my love. Alrighty. Now that's real fun, but here's what really starts making it look like cat eyes. Look up for me. Atta girl.
Get the eyeliner type stuff going.
When it goes to the bottom.
So do you do everyday makeup? You know, I'd sure like to have you at my house every morning.
You know, I've had that offer before. People have offered to pay big money, but I don't want to get up that early either.
That's right.
That's the one drawback to the commercial work in this, is that sometimes you have to get up hideously early.
Now, if there's parents watching right now, what do you suggest? What would be something easy that they could do on their child as far as makeup for Halloween?
Well, you know, any kind of fantasy makeup is really easy to do. I mean, you can do all this with colored lines. You can change the shape of the eyebrow. Clowns are so easy. Mimes are even easier than that.
Oh yeah, it's almost all white, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you just some lines on the eyes. You can brighten the cheeks. You can just paint the face, basically. And I'm actually going to paint her lips here. Part your lips for me a little bit, Annie. There you go. With the black. How are you doing so far?
Tickles a little bit.
Does it tickle? Okay, the next step is to start adding some color. And she's going to be a tigress. We need to sort of...
And once again, you just kind of choose your own color?
Well, you know, you can get as wild and zany as you want, but since I know she's a tiger, what I'm doing is trying to use a brown, reddish sort of color for the striping. And I might go in and put all kinds of different colors, you know, because like when you're actually painting a picture, if you're using a lot of red, you put a green in there to complement, you know, it's sort of a color wheel thing.
It's looking good. She already looks like a tiger.
She's good at that. And then, you know, you just blush brushes, and brushes are wonderful. You can't have too many brushes to do something like that.
I mean, you can get that at, you know, along the makeup aisle, the regular makeup aisle.
You can get that at Hobby Lobby or any of your craft stores, which I would highly recommend because the brushes are just as good quality and they will be less expensive. And you'll sort of get the hang of what different size brushes you'd like to use. You can even use cosmetic wedges or those disposable applicator tips. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter.
So it's a
whatever works for you.
Preference,
yeah, it really is. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, like I said, especially for Halloween. If you want to do something, you've got a lot of makeup that you bought over the counter at different drugstores and stuff, you'd be surprised.
Well, and they have the makeup kits that you can get. You know, just buy it all together. Mm-hmm. Halloween, so just anyone who wants to do something like that can just take the time, right?
Yeah, it's a matter of playing with it. In fact, whenever I'm doing workshops for teenagers or even the younger kids, I just say, you know, it's like playing the piano. It's all a matter of practice. Right. So therefore, you know, play with your face, play with putting a character, creating a character on your face, and then when you're finished, wash your face off and do something else. You know, just keep practicing. If your face is the only one you have to use, then make the mirror your friend. Now, if you'll notice, if I'm going to put a little bit of dark in with this red, because what happens is it helps to make it a little bit more three-dimensional when you add a second color. And don't be afraid to use your fingers, boys and girls. Fingers are good.
I've noticed too, you're using almost the same colors on everything, but you're applying some darker than others and wiping them off.
It takes a surprisingly small amount of colors once you get the hang of this, to tell you the truth. It really does. Let's see what I want to do here.
Close your mouth. Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
So you got to keep checking.
Yeah. Are you alive?
Are you alive? Are you angry? Are you hungry? Not that it's going to do any good. You can't eat.
I guess that's a rule then, right? After they get their makeup on, no eating?
Well, actually, if you're very careful. The wardrobe people have more of a problem with that than I do. I can always reapply makeup, but if you get a stain on your costume just before a show, it's a little tough. Yeah. They get a little testy about that. And can you blame them?
Oh, no.
Okay, let me step back here. That's another thing you want to do. You want to always kind of step back and survey what it looks like from a distance. Because you might need to add a little light here, a little dark there. Well, I always do anyway. And when you're doing an animal, you just kind of, if you don't have a picture, just kind of stop and think, okay, what does this animal look like? What does this animal have? And you can create and have a lot of fun with it.
Right. And as far as
And like I
stripes
said,
and
if
that,
you
can
don't
do
like
that.
it, change it.
Yeah.
And you don't really have to have stripes that are stripes per se. You know, a lot of shadowing and light and dark will work just fine. So do you think, let's see. Okay, now I want you to look seductively into the camera and roar.
Good job. All right, Annie. And good job, Ruth.
No, thank you.
Okay, Ruth, you're putting some white makeup on who now? We've got a different model here.
My young son, Richard,
Hi,
who's
Richard.
going to be a famous movie actor one day. You know.
Is he?
Stage and screen.
All right. Well, we can say we knew him when.
Yes, which is why I can always get him to be a volunteer.
Okay, you're putting white makeup on him now? Is it-
This is called Clown White. This is a cream base. You can also get it in a water base, just like the one that we used on Annie. I don't have the white water base with me right now, so I'm using the cream instead. With the cream, it is essential that you powder it. With the water base, if you have a really hot theater, if you're going to be sweating, if you're going to be highly active, you'll need to powder also.
Just kind of sets it?
It sets it, it drinks up the oils so that one thing you don't shine, the other thing is basically with the cream makeup it's so that you're not shiny.
Right.
With water base it's to set it and keep it from running because water base is water base and if you sweat it is going to run.
So do you tell your models anything in particular, the people that you're putting makeup on, as far as how to take care of their face? Because doesn't the makeup really draw out the moisture?
A lot of the theater makeup is a lot kinder to your face than people give it credit for, but you do have to do your basics. You need to clean it well, you need to use an astringent, you need to use moisturizers, and this goes for the male actors as well as the female actors because with anything that's on your face baking under lights, it's going to cause a problem.
Right.
And you just don't do any of this without a lot of lights, whether it's in the theater or whether it's film, video, print. Light is involved and heat. So really keeping your face clean is the essential thing, making sure that you take care of your skin when you're out of makeup.
Right. And Richard's going to be a vampire, right?
Yes, he is.
Now I've noticed you're coming just a little bit lower on him. How do you work it when he has a collar like this?
Well, now normally with a vampire makeup, especially where you're really, really changing the shade of his skin, you would have to come down to about a ½ inch below wherever his costume is going to land. With age makeup, it's the same because you do a lot of aging on down in order to carry the illusion forward. So, but the trick is to try and go just as shallow as you can into the costuming, otherwise they're gonna have horrible makeup stains. Okay, so I haven't powdered him down yet, so that's probably a good idea for me to do right now.
Ooh, that's a really white powder.
This is white, and I'm using white because he's got a white base on. You might want to lean forward, Richard, so we don't get quite as much on you as we normally would, and don't breathe. Did I mention don't open your eyes? Okay, lean back and breathe.
Ooh, hello.
Did we get it in your contacts? That's another thing you have to be careful with actors. You need to establish beforehand whether they have contacts or not because it's going to make a lot of difference in the sensitivity of their eyes to light and how long they can hold them open because they'll dry out. And what I'm going to do with Richard, because I want to change his eyebrow shape, is I'm taking the white and I'm whiting out this part.
Is it to make his eyes look bigger? Is that?
Well, I'm going to change his eyebrow shape. It's going to go a lot farther on his forehead. I want him to look sinister, and his eyebrows just aren't sinister enough for me.
What a thing for a mom to say, huh?
You should see it when no one's around.
Behind closed doors. Shame on you. You just wait. Now what I'm going to do is establish the line where I want it to go. Now see, isn't that just ever so much meaner than his natural one?
Yes, it is.
Now we're going to have to turn your head. Let me see if I can get this one to even vaguely match. Not bad.
You know, Richard, I'm glad you don't have eyebrows like that. Although your mother would like for you to have them.
Only for certain characters.
So, Ruth, when they're ready to take this makeup off, what do you suggest they use?
Baby wipes.
Really?
Best thing going. And I suggest that you use a fairly decent brand. I've used some that were rather inexpensive, thinking that I was going to save money, and they don't smell nice, and they don't work as well. So this is one instance when a brand would be a good idea.
Get what you pay for then,
That's
huh?
right.
Ooh, look at that.
And what I'm going to do now is sink his eyes in. I'm going to stay right along his real eyebrow down here because this will help to camouflage it. We're bringing that dark down his nose. We're ignoring the telephone.
As our viewers can tell, we're outside. I don't know what we're hearing. Is it tree frogs or?
Cicadas, come on, you're from Oklahoma.
Well.
Okay, open for me, Rich. And once again, like I said, when you're using lights and darks, lights pop forward and darks receive. So what we're really doing is we're kind of sinking his eyes in, giving him that sinister sort of, yeah, I'm dead, but I'm still moving thing. So what I'm going to basically be doing is making him look pretty cadaverous. There's going to be a lot of contrast between the light and dark. Ain't that right?
What would you do with his hair if he were actually going out? What would you do to it?
What I would probably do is take gel and slick it totally
back?
back. And the thing about the gel is with his hair color, it would probably make it dark enough to even appear almost black.
Right.
And sink those cheeks in a little bit here. When you're on the stage, when you're doing little things like this, it really helps to sculpt the face from a distance.
And you did say the bigger the theater, the more you need to apply the makeup, right?
That's one thing that actors who aren't used to doing their makeup very well will very often have a problem with, is how much to apply for what size house. Because it can look pretty silly if you've put something, say it's not a Dracula type character, but you've put something this strong as a character makeup on and you've got a little tiny theater, then all you can see, it turns into a sort of a grotesque, sort of clowny sort of thing, and you don't want that to happen. Are you close for me?
Got the eyeliner on the eyes again.
Yeah, you always want to line the eyes. The eyes really need to pop out. They're the actor's strongest weapons or tools on a stage. And so you want to help them with that as much as you can. And since he is Dracula, I'm going to line his lips in black. And I'm going to change the shape just a little bit, make it more square. The top lip, I'm going to go ahead and put black, just like I did Annie's for an animal makeup. The top lip is always in shadow anyway, and since he's Dracula, it should be a deep shadow.
Oh, blood red.
A little hint of red. And here's a little something that is always fun to do with the Dracula makeup because it is so austere and basically all one color. Look up for me, Rich. Let's put some red in here. Look at me. Okay. Up again. See, you can tell he's been my victim volunteer before. He knows exactly what to do. I'm going with him to Hollywood, by the way. I'm going to be his personal makeup artist.
Is that right?
I don't know if he knew that, but okay, close.
Richard, just remember you won't have to pay her.
Bet me.
Come on, she's family.
That's the other thing about if you decide you want to be a makeup artist. I mean, the thrill for me, still to this day, is that I just can't believe people pay me to play.
Right.
I feel like I'm being paid to play, and it's just a wonderful
so nice,
thing.
something you love to do.
This is something that we always do, which is to contour the jaw. Because even if you have a well-defined jaw, you know, your features tend to wash out on stage, and this helps keep it popped forward. And I know that looks very extreme, but from the house, that will read just fine. Here's another thing, if you've got a makeup that's real cadaverous and ugly, and I'm just going to show you for not necessarily a Dracula makeup, but for any makeup, character makeup, one of the things that people often fail to do is that you need to put just a hint of redness back in a makeup.
Oh.
Because it's like you're bringing the capillaries underneath the surface of the skin where they're supposed to be. So it brings
Even for
life.
another character other than a vampire,
Yeah,
you put
it
the red
puts
in?
life back into the face after you've taken it away by covering up with makeup, because it makes it look like there's blood just underneath the surface of the skin again. You can't have a mean, evil, rotten, nasty character unless you pull his mouth down.
That's right.
And another thing that I do for theater, this is just one last little thing, and this is for theater only, really. Although you can sort of do it with powder on a regular thing. If you will make sure you keep this area brightened up, when they open their eyes on stage, it makes them appear bigger, brighter, and more sparkly.
There he is.
How you feeling, son?
I'm feeling great.
I think he's missing one thing, though.
You know, I think he is too. What could it be? I know. We need teeth.
All right. Well, Richard and Annie, thank you so much for being our models today. You look absolutely wonderful as a tiger and a vampire can look anyway. Ruth, thank you so much for being on the program
thank you.
today.
Thanks for letting us play.
Oh, we really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was really fun. And we hope you've enjoyed a little taste of the life of a makeup artist, Ruth Mitchell. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next week.